Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. It's just me tonight and Erin, so we'll wait for her to join. Olivia will not be able to make it tonight. Feeling a cutie. Hi, Erin. We're just telling everyone that Olivia will not be making it tonight, so it'll just be me and you. I don't know if you've been told that yet, but we'll wait a couple more minutes. And then Erin will be doing a little tutorial today, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I cut my pieces 2 minutes ago? Who's to say?
They are very used to that with me. Usually I'm like, oh, I forgot we were doing a tutorial. And I'm like setting up my camera and yeah. It's hard to set up a camera and do a call at the same time, I've noticed.
My plan is to move my laptop to look at my sewing machine.
Yeah, I've done the thing where I've like tried to use my phone also, but then there's always like feedback and yeah. Well, this will be a more casual sew-in.
Ooh.
So let Erin do her little thing. Feel free if you have any questions, either ask in the chat or just speak up. And then yeah, we'll just kind of hang out after and yeah.
All right, everybody. I think by now you can know if you go up to your view and pick speaker view, you should see me. And I will do my best to make sure that you can see everything.
I just realized that I can spotlight you now. Great. I was not signed in the last time. I'm signed in now. So you are spotlighted.
Now I'm big to me and I can kind of see what a mess I have going. Okay, so I need to remember that this is a mystery and people don't know what they are sewing, so I have to keep my mouth shut. So week 4, I think we now have directions that you'll start to understand that there are some blocks that are oriented to the left and there are some blocks that are oriented to the right. So that's why we have I think I called them sub-block ones. I wonder if I toggle around too much, will I lose you? Yeah, sub-block 1 and sub-block 2. So there are going to be 9 sub-block 1s that are oriented to the left and 6 sub-block 2s that are oriented to the right. some ways to think about which kind of groupings of fabric do you want to use for subblock 1 and which groupings of fabric do you want to use for subblock 2. I embrace maximal chaos, and so I blindly picked 9 groupings of fabric that I wanted facing left, and I blindly picked, or I guess the remaining 6 were the ones that would be oriented to the right. If you would like a little more guidance, think about, there's been a lot of really good pictures in Discord of like rows of the color families. So 1, 2, 3 plates, 1, 2, 3 plates. I guess it's 5 rows of 3 plates. If you want to think about rows 2 and 4 as your, I have to look at it again, as the 6 blocks that will all be oriented in the same direction, and your rows 1, 3, and 5, those 9 blocks will all be oriented in the other direction. Could be one way to wrap your head around which do you want where. I think
Is
that's
there
the
a is
go
there
ahead.
a visual that we can has someone like posted kind of these rows that we could just like throw
Yeah.
into the chat real quick? I can do
Uh,
that.
I think Olivia had like marked up one
Okay,
actually
yes.
on the
Yeah.
bottom. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna throw that in the chat for everyone so there's a reference
Yeah.
because I'm a very visual person, so
Mm-hmm.
numbers.
Also, the one that Maggie posted in the Cheater Club, I think could be
Okay, let me check and make sure it's
good.
not cheap.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of helpful because it's exactly just what we're sewing up this week.
It's just this week's blocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, I will post that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one man, so that's fine to post, right? Okay,
Yeah.
scary.
I know. um, yes. So this picture from Maggie Mark, what a great name. Good job to Maggie's parents. If that's
Should be like a an author name.
yes. Um, so this is what I mean. If you want to think about your color families keeping together in one row, you know, keeping with this very organized approach, this is one way to think about it. And then there's another one from that Olivia had marked up that is not the pieced units and just like um, a picture of organized plates that would be helpful, but it communicates the same thing. So think about like row 1, 3, and 5 as all oriented in the same direction, and rows 2 and 4 oriented in the other direction. And you'll get a really beautiful quilt top this way if you want to follow that. Again, I am maximal chaos and I just picked in blindly, which was a lot of fun for me in the way that I like to quilt. I think now, talking about stitch and flip units. They're not new. I imagine that you all have done them previously in your quilts and in Toad Circle. But in case you haven't, in case this is your first time doing a stitch and flip unit, you might hear them called stitch and flip. You might hear them called snowballed corners. I think the traditional quilt block is that this is based off of is a snowball. It's like a square, and then you stitch all the 4 corners to be a different fabric. So once what we're aiming for is a unit that looks like this. It's you would stitch a small piece of fabric to the corner of a larger piece of fabric, and you would flip it back, and now you have this pieced corner. when I draw my line from corner to corner on the smaller unit, I always like to account for like the width of my pen when I do that. I mean, like, let me back up and say I'm actually really bad at stitch and flip units. I feel like sometimes they're perfect, sometimes they are all over the place. And there are so many ways to make these fit your sewing style that, listen to one thing I have to say, listen to none of the things I have to say. If one of them sticks, that is wonderful. If none of them stick, we'll get you some other information. So there are a couple units that we are going to stitch and flip today. But let me see if I can show you. You can see that there's just like a hair's width of distance between the very corner of my unit and my line. And then I can really focus on sewing down my drawn line. There are other ways of doing this where you would draw your line directly from corner to corner and then just sew one thread's width away from that drawn line. I don't love that because then I feel like I'm having to imagine too much when I'm at my machine. So when I draw my line, I just move it over that thread width to start. Here I started one example where I tried to do more of a legitimate corner to corner piece. And then I did more like 2 or 3 threads away from the drawn line, because then I know it will not be too short. And if all I have to do is kind of like trim it down because it's too big once I flip it back, I'm happy with that. If you love perfect points, this might not be the method for you, because one of the things that I always like to do is take a look at the back of the unit, and you can see that there's quite a large amount of excess on the front of the unit from the back. So that means that there might be a fair amount of trimming I would need to do, but I would first press and cut the excess fabric away before deciding that needs trimming or not. So in the pattern, this is the A5 and a B4 unit that will get sewn. And then this is I wrote and then sewed right over the labels. I think this is A1 and B3 that will get sewn. And while you are drawing your line on this particular combination in this corner, we won't use this scrap. So we did have a couple questions in the chat this week asking if we need to keep this for any future use in the pattern. We don't, so go ahead and make yourself your bonus HST right now. It's pretty easy. I have several of them actually for my cover pattern sitting right here. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I have, years collection worth of HSTs. And then this is an example where, I don't know, I wasn't super happy with where I drew my line, so I still sewed one thread width away from that drawn line. And you can tell because you can still see the drawn line. So if you draw your line and then stitch directly over it, you probably won't be able to see your drawn line. So that'll give you some information about how your stitching line and your drawn line are interacting. What else? I'm gonna just cut this off so we can start to look at.
Can you explain why we're doing the threads width away?
So when you fold your fabric over, particularly when you press to the side, I found it doesn't matter as much when I press open, but I want to be consistent in how I talk to folks. When you press your fabric to the side, that eats up a minuscule amount of fabric. Because we've added thickness with the thread that we've sewn with. So by sewing one thread away from our drawn line, we have kind of now accounted for the thickness of our stitching line. And that way, when we cut everything up, when we cut the excess seam allowance, so that's what cutting the excess seam allowance is, you flip this back, and when you press it, I'm just gonna kind of drag my fingernail over it. Be careful if you drag your fingernail over it, because this is on the bias. You might want to just like scrunch with your fingertips and things. Now we should have like a very nice even edge on the straight edge where these get sewn. And then your stitching line should go straight to the corner. I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty good unit for me. I was very proud with this one. On this example, where I said I sewed even farther from the drawn line, it might, let me trim this. And if I press this back, you can see now this edge is not quite aligned. But because I sewed farther away, I think it's fine. I'll be able to just use my straight edge ruler to kind of clean this line up. I wouldn't do that until after I pressed because I want to make sure that this sits nicely and relaxes before making any permanent changes to anything that doesn't get trimmed away. This is missing one stitch and flip unit right here, but ultimately these will get sewn, as you can see in the pattern, in this orientation here. There are two things I want to note about these pieces. Actually, maybe I should sew this up real quick. I'm going to take 2 seconds. My machine is right here. You can watch me. I'm going to sew this up just so I can show you what seams I'm about to be concerned with. I've never done this under such pressure before. I have no idea how this is going to turn out. Oh, when you're sewing stitch and flip units, use a, why is the word escaping me? Somebody put it in the chat. What is this called?
Is starter? Not a starter. Leader.
A leader.
I said starter.
Use a leader because you'll save yourself such headache if you don't have a ton of familiarity with this sewing method. You'll start to like eat the edges of your pieced units pretty quickly. So using a leader means sending a much thicker scrap of fabric through your machine and then leaving it under the edge, under the back of your sewing foot. So that way it's up and the very edge of the unit that you want to sew now is doesn't have the full weight of the foot on it, and it won't get eaten as it starts to pass through the feed dogs and your machine. I don't trust myself to try and show you that close up of a unit, but you can see like how closely these are stitched because I did not let this thread feed out and let this leader escape from the back of my foot. It's like I took one stitch and then immediately started sewing this. We're gonna get back to this, but quickly while I'm thinking of this, when I am sewing, oh, I gotta make sure I can see what I'm saying here. When I'm sewing down this drawn line, I've picked a spot on my on my sewing foot. I almost said walking foot. It's not a walking foot. On my presser foot to follow that drawn line. So I watched the very edge of like this nook on my foot, and I let that guide my eye as I sew down this. I don't know if this is going to be true of your presser feet, but I recommend that you find some sort of visual cue that will help you stay consistent in your sewing. So let's see what this one looks like. So we've got our stitch line down our drawn line. And if we flip it back, that's looking pretty good. You always want to flip back before you trim because it's very obvious if you flip it back and it looks like this, you've sewn incorrectly. So this is definitely, if it looked like this, you would definitely want to seam rip that and play with your settings, as it were, to fix that. But this one is looking pretty good. You can take a look at it from the back. This is flipped when you look at it here. Yeah, look ahead at the lines on the road. Look ahead, not too close. If you look exactly where your needle is going down, you're not getting the most information about what you're about to sew. So you want to look maybe like a stitch or two ahead of where you are currently sewing. So that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and trim this. And I'm gonna press these real quick just so we can have a good looking unit for me to show you. My iron wasn't hot. Ah! Okay. It was warm. It was warm. So this unit looks pretty good. You can also put it under your rulers. There's a little bit of a lip there. Depending on how you feel about that, you might want to trim that down, sure. This one, for certain, needs to be trimmed down. And there's no special like measurement that you need to pay attention for that. You would just want to take, we know that this is, oh, I forgot to tell you, I mean, it's in the pattern, but I forgot to mention it, that you want the 5 3/4 dimension oriented this way. I know this block is just barely rectangle. Don't make sure that when you're doing this, you have it oriented according to the diagrams and as illustrated there. All that information is there, but you just want to double check before you sew that. Am I okay? Yes. So you can line up your ruler to the size that you know that this should be. I'm going to zoom in. Where are you? This is a terrible way to show you this, I apologize, but you can see that it is too big on 2 of the sides. So you can take your rotary cutter, your rotary blade, and square that up real fast. I don't love this method for this quilt on this particular unit because, as I'm about to say, let me show you, get this all set up. There's not too many seams that intersect on this quilt top in a significant way where you need to like be careful of your points getting cut off or anything, except this seam and this seam. There will be seams that play with these where it will be a little obvious if you did not get the placement of this corner correct and the placement of this corner correct. That's it on this quilt. Everything else you have quite a bit of forgiveness when it comes to your points and how those design elements interact with other design elements in the quilt top. It's just these 2 points that if you're going to spend the extra time and attention anywhere, I think it should be on those 2 points. I think that was it for important information to share about these units this week. This is the subblock 1. The subblock 2 will just look like that. That'll just be the reflected piece. I think that's as much as I can say without giving anything else away.
Great. Does anyone have any questions? This is anyone's first time doing snowball. I call it snowball corner. What do you call it? Stitch and
Stitch and flip. Yeah.
Stitch and flip. Okay, so all right, we have a few people.
2 newbies. Yes. So you've got lots of opportunity to play with how you like to do your stitch and flip units. So that is going to be, I don't know how to like best show you this in a laptop setup. Let me see if I can get some units. So here's some information that how you can like double check how accurate your corners are. So when you have a stitch and flip unit, ideally, remember we still have our 1/4 inch seam allowance here. So one thing that you can do is put a ruler up against your unit and find the point at which the 1/4 inch intersects with your seam. You can do it on this corner and you can do it on this corner. So you can just barely see that this 1/4 inch spot is a little bit off. It's just a little bit off, which I anticipated because I sewed this one, as I said, a little funky. And if we follow this 1/4 inch seam allowance down, it's going to be this second yellow line. So where this second black dot is, that one's not, well, I think I've started to get this a little funky because I'm holding it up. That one is a little off as well. Just, we're talking like 30 seconds of an inch. But for our folks for whom this is their first time doing stitch and flip units, this is one little extra step that you can take to just start looking at how your units are turning out. Is it going to break the quilt if these points don't align? Absolutely not. I just want to say that these are the only points on the quilt that like intersect in a significant way with another seam. So let's see what we can see with this corner. Yeah, this is harder than I thought because I have to hold it up on another ruler so I can get it straight.
That ruler also has a lot of lines on it.
Yeah, it's so many lines. So this one, if we follow the 1/4 inch seam allowance down, that black dot is pretty much right on that line, which I'm pretty happy with. That one's going to look good. This one is a little bit far over onto the darker purple, but again, that's so close as to be like inconsequential to me. And you could do the same thing. I mean, visually, when they actually intersect with the corner, you can just see how well that line intersects. And then on this one, again, this one's not so significant for the quilt itself, but you could put the ruler up again and see where this 1/4 inch line intersects with that seam.
Yeah. I had one more. So you used your foot as kind of a guide, so you have that little notch as a guide. Another way you could do it is you could follow the center point of your thing, and then if your machine has the option to move your needle over 1 or 2 clicks, you can also do that. And that way you're sewing as normal, but your machine's compensating without you thinking about it.
Yeah.
Definitely do a trial run of that because you don't want to do a bunch of those and be like, oh, it's like way too far over or like not enough.
Yeah, that would
So
be a good opportunity to do a couple test
yeah.
pieces with some scraps. Not that there are any left from your fabric for this quilt. But
It's don't use these scraps.
my machine, I can't move my needle over, so that's why
Okay.
I'm more like I gotta
Yeah.
find something.
Yeah, it definitely depends on your machine and its capabilities, and even your foot. I mean, everyone has different feet that they're used to, or that they like. The foot. I mean, the presser foot. Oh my God, the plate I use and the foot, I cannot move my needle over unless I switch out to a different plate and a different foot, which is like it's just a different setup for my same machine. But yeah, so.
There's also for our newbies tape that you can buy, and I believe the tape is like a 1/2 inch wide, and then right down the center of the tape there's a printed line. And the idea is that you put a length of that tape in front of your needle, such so that the line like lines up with your needle. And then what that would mean is as you are sewing down the line, you can keep the farthest point aligned on the tape. Yes. That I think
Or
that's
not.
yes, for super helpful for folks who are much more relaxed
Yeah.
about
Because it's not going to be perfect, and it's also, yeah. But it is super helpful just in general to have like this aside. I have tape on my machine that I set up for. Oh, I can bring it over, but I just use washi tape, and I just know that the like right side of that washi tape is like perfectly where the center is. So
I've got that tape
okay.
line. It's called
Oh
Magic
yes.
Seam Tape.
oh yeah.
So Magic Seam Tape by
Like duck. Is it something with a duck?
I think it's like Cluck Cluck Sew maybe.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. So that if that's the case, just make sure you're lining up on like not directly in the center, just like a thread's width away.
Same thing like the tape.
So
I think you could probably make the tape work really well for you if you spend the time figuring out how to read it, right? So do you like to use the like Taylor's saying the very center of the line, the very edge of the line? Is it lined up straight
yeah.
with this is why I can't use it because is it lined up straight with my needle? When I change my bobbin, I have to take the tape off.
I know.
Put it back down and then I gotta figure it out over again.
That's why I also don't use it because I don't know, for my I don't know, I just use many different feet and plates and stuff and for different scenarios. So I find that it's not the best for me, but
What do
a lot
you
of people
change
like
your do you change your plates for anything other than like moving your needle over?
so I know several people in our group have this sewing machine. Oh, I'm dropping something. Hold on.
Pins, needles.
Yeah. Can so I have with my machine, it comes with a straight. Okay. Comes with many different plates. So this HP foot. Of course, I like organize my whole studio to not be sewing stuff. Okay, so I have like this sewing plate, which just has one little hole, and it's like the only place my needle can go. And I use like a straight foot that just goes right down the center of that. So then when I'm doing my 1/4 inch, I just align it with the outside, like perfectly on the outside of my foot. But if I'm doing like not bobbin, binding or anything, I use this foot, which has the option of moving it or using like a different foot that has like similar to the foot you were using.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also have the option if I'm like doing the zigzag or something, this plate that has like a big one. So like if I was doing zigzag, but this is the option where you can really move your needle over. But I just like my straight
Yeah.
stitch one. It's, I don't know, but you can see I do use tape like for different things. Like I don't know what these tapes are really for, but I think this one is my center.
Yeah.
And I have it go like on my machine too.
Yeah.
So, and this is probably, that one is probably, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch. Yeah, that might be my 1/4 inch. Not sure. But I put them on there for a reason at one point.
It was useful once.
It was useful for maybe one project. Did the tape ever come off? No.
No. That's so interesting. I only have one plate for my machine. I've never looked into maybe getting other plates like sold separately, but yeah, this is also not a
Yeah.
very machine, so.
Yeah, so this machine, yeah, it came with all of them, but I had a point to say. Oh, the straight stitch just really helps with like no fabric getting sucked in, like because it's just that small little hole, and it's just very much like I don't run into any issues of anything like that. So it's definitely my favorite for piecing, but very limited. It's like almost like having a Juki TL or like one of those straight stitch only machines, minus the power that those machines have.
I have just like a Singer Quantum Stylus 9960, which I got from Joann's probably 10 years ago now. And it's like such a good workhorse. The only thing it doesn't do is move the needle over. And so I found not to compensate for that. And every once in a while, I think it's time to upgrade my machine. But then I'd have to like learn everything all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel sometimes about mine. I like see these like bigger machines. I'm like, oh, that'd be really nice to have. And then I'm like, well, my machine's perfectly fine.
I know, this was like 100.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, this is a great machine if you do want to upgrade though. I know like everyone I know that has it loves it. So
yeah,
it's
the
a little
thing
more than 100, but
the only thing I really want is like more throat space.
yeah. And this one does have a lot of throat space. Yeah. What is it again? Okay, I have a Janome Memory Craft 6700 P. I can write that down. It's the same one Olivia has too, and a lot of other people I think have it in this group.
Googling.
I actually bought mine at QuiltCon. I bought their like floor model or like their classroom one. So they were using it in my classroom, so it wasn't like fresh out of the box, but basically. And so I got like a few hundred off, I think, and they shipped it to me like from QuiltCon, so I didn't have to like fly home with it or anything. But I got it like my 4 years ago, and I have never gotten it serviced, and it's still doing great. So it's on my list to do.
I bought the Juki TL.
Juki TL.
Well, yeah. I bought that at the International Quilt Festival in Houston. So yeah, you do get excited.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like going home with that.
And I had a Bernina that has so much computerized stuff on it. It's just intimidating, and I wanted a basic. Yeah. And so I love it. It's
Yeah.
so nice.
Yeah. So I kind of had the opposite. I got my Juki and then I was like, I just need like a little bit more because it was the only machine I had. I was like, I need like just a hair more. Like there's certain things like if I'm doing garments, then having like I don't have a serger, so having a zigzag stitch
Yeah,
at
yeah,
least have that option. And then I was like, I'm gonna use both, but in my studio, both is not an option. And I honestly never take my Juki out anymore.
yeah.
But it also needs to be serviced. The tension's off right now, and I think I'm expanding my studio to the
Nice.
rest of the
Yeah,
space, I believe.
nice.
The house.
To the rest of the house.
Yes. I know people turn the living room into their studio because I mean, why not? If that's your house and that's what you do.
Well, yeah. So right now we have 2 living rooms, and my house is 1,100 square feet. So we have no business having 2 living rooms.
No.
Like I'm like our house is not big enough to have both. And we don't use the front one. Like we use it for reading and drinking tea. And I'm like, I need more space. So that's
Yep.
kind of our summer to do is maybe I'll be able to set up my Juki as well, and then I can have both machines
Yeah, I
going.
have my other one kind of just out. I just got my space when my daughter moved out, so this was her bedroom. And so I love it. But I do have the Bernina set up because like when you hem pants, you do something, then
Yeah.
I just did that and I used like I used one of the stitches like a fake serging stitch and
Yeah.
you know, yeah, it's nice.
It definitely comes in handy.
A little spoiled, I
Um,
have too, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah. And I found that this machine was like it's not overly computerized. Like it has a tiny screen this big.
Yeah.
So it's really like a kind of a happy medium, you know.
Yeah.
So when I got into sewing, my grandma talked to me extensively. Make sure all of your sewing machines all metal inside. She was like very like
Yes, yes.
so she and then that's why I like how I ended up with the Juki, which I do love. I need to get that service.
Yeah. I'm super happy with it.
Yeah. It's fast.
I
It's
did
really
when I
fast.
will admit, my friend and I were at the Houston International Quilt Festival. And we're like talking ourselves into buying this a machine, not fabric or a pattern, but a machine. So we kind of went a little crazy. And then I got it home and I kind of kept it in the box because I felt kind of guilty that I bought a whole machine so I like left it for like 6 months, like in a box, like, oh yeah, no, not that thing. Don't
Treat
worry
yourself.
about
Treat yourself.
so, yeah. But then
No, it's yeah.
we're friends now, so I got over the guilt purchase and now we're best friends.
I've always wondered for like those exhibitor hall like vendors who sell big things.
Mm-hmm.
How I mean they it must be worth their time to go to Quilt Mart and
Definitely shipping it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I've always wondered who is committing to buying a new sewing desk and table.
Oh, that's a I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean that was the biggest purchase I ever had at one of those
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
Or like
I
a
think
wall.
yeah, I think for me being able to I don't know, I guess at the time I knew I needed a machine and like sitting down and like actually trying all of them, like where they're all in this. I know you can do that at sewing shops, but like every single like company's there for you to try all of them.
Right.
And the fact that they do have the class or models was really nice. Like having that deal where it's like a semi-used thing is really nice. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember how much I got off, but it was enough for me to think it was worth it at the time. So going based off of that.
And if they ship it to you, great.
Yes. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. Yeah.
The thing
know.
that I like about my machine, which I didn't realize when I bought it, is that it has like an automatic tension adjustment. So when the tension is off, all I really do is like unwind the thread, take the bobbin out, put it back in, rewind the thread, maybe turn it on and off, and then the tension issues just fix themselves.
Well,
I
that's
don't,
nice.
I don't
That's
like it's
nice.
just
Yeah, I
magic.
know. I don't know if mine has that.
I don't
Not
think
that
so.
I mean, I don't think mine has. I rarely ever have tension issues. But it's weird because like my factory setting, like when you put like the foot pressure, like I don't know what the manual recommends, but I have mine like almost at 0. And
Oh,
I don't know if that's like I think someone got my machine probably because I like said something about it. And then they were like, "Hey, what are the settings that you have on your machine because like I'm having troubles, whatever." And I sent a video of like every little like setting, like even the tension thing here. Okay, what is this knob?
uh-huh.
This is like all the way at like 2 or 1, but sorry, can you guys even see this?
I think 2 isn't too normal.
Yeah, but like it's weird because it has 5 to 3 is like where they recommend.
Mm.
I don't know. I just feel like everything has to be less than what the recommendation is. I don't know.
As long as it works and you don't like get it off.
Yeah.
This is why I can't get a new machine. I cannot spend the time learning all of that new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those.
I mean that is fair.
Mhm. This thing is gonna work it into the ground.
I mean that's what I've done to like all of my cars.
My husband, we have a perfectly fine, wonderful plug-in hybrid. So it's electric. We don't really drive all that much. It's perfect for us. And last week he announced to me that he wants a new car for fun. We're a one-car household. I don't why? We have a great electric car and we can use it's a plug-in, so we can use electric for the majority of our miles, and then we can use the gas engine for when we like actually need to go somewhere, which is the best of both worlds. Lots of consumers want that and nobody's making it anymore, and you want to get rid of it. Ooh.
He wants to get rid of it or just get a
But we
second
would
one?
trade it in. We would trade it in. Yeah.
Oh,
We both work from home, and
yeah.
we have e-bikes, and there's a fair number of bike paths around us. So even now, like the majority of our in-town miles are on our bikes. So we're like
Yeah.
driving our car anymore.
Hmm.
Are you in Denver?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're kind of going through that with a new TV. We need a new TV right now. And since I'm part of it, it's like we can get rid of this can become my studio if we get like a new TV and move it to the front of the house. But the size of the TV is a question because I don't care about a big TV at all. I'm like, yeah, let's go the smallest TV we can, please. And-
Legitimately, when we bought our TV, we walked into Best Buy and asked, "Give us your smallest." Like we don't want.
yeah, he's not here for that. He's like, I don't know, it's a whole. So I literally like taped paper together to show him how ridiculous his size is, and I'm like, this doesn't look good. And then I put like a Sharpie of like the size TV I want. And we're also like, I really want the frame TV, which is like the one that looks like art.
I have that.
And do you like it?
Yes, I do like it. Well, I don't watch a ton of TV. And I didn't want it to be like in the, we have a 1925 cottage, Portland, Oregon, right?
Yeah.
Of the small older houses. And like a huge TV sits where it has the old original,
Yeah,
fireplace and the 2 built-in book kind of cases
exactly.
in. And so it's like, well, I don't want to put a TV in front of a window or that. So we got that right up on the wall. It's like this thick.
Yeah,
Off
we
the
just saw
wall.
them. So we went in person. We're like, we're getting this, like, because we're not TV people. We don't really care about the OLED, whatever the
Yeah.
a million different specs that everyone talks about. I'm like, I don't care. Is it better than our current TV? Yes. So and then we made the mistake of like, going onto Reddit, and I'm like, a lot of people have like issues. They're like, it's just an average TV, but it has like whatever the art features great and everything.
I love the art feature. I change it seasonally. You can
Yeah.
do like from certain museums, or you can do local, like what Portland's doing, or all sorts of cool, fun things to do with that.
You can also buy artwork from artists and put it on there too.
You
Like, you know,
could, you probably could put your
yeah,
stuff, Taylor. You could put,
yeah,
your things up there. I
yeah. So
think it's cool. I don't have any problem with it. We did get a sound bar because
yeah, we're gonna get a sound bar. Yeah,
so we had to get a sound bar that I have, so now you have to have like a table or something somewhere you can put a sound bar, but we
yeah,
have a sound bar to go with it. I think it's fine. I mean, and my husband is a techie guy and he's a
and
gadget guy. He would also do like the car thing. I mean, like, yeah,
yeah,
he just into these the things. And,
yeah.
and he got the TV, so he went for it.
Okay. I think like when you look at reviews on Reddit, it's scary, but I'm like the only people going on Reddit, like this is like what happens when you go on Reddit about like symptoms or like like a medical issue. It's like the only people on Reddit are the people that are having issues and they're having symptoms and they're like in the worst part of their life, or they really don't like a product, etc.
Right.
So I was
I
like, the people that are enjoying it, they're not going on Reddit.
Yeah, I have not gotten into Reddit, so.
Yeah, there's no middling ground. It's either people who are super happy about something and want to talk about it, or people who are
Yeah,
super. That's the like Yelp problem.
yeah,
People
exactly.
don't
And like
reviews.
And we went into the TV shop near us, and we looked at all of the OLEDs, and we're like, we don't even like this. It feels too high def. Like it feels like unnatural because our eyes shouldn't. We can't even see this well.
Yeah.
And we looked at the frame. We're like, this looks great. This looks perfect. And then we like psyched ourselves out.
The one, like my brother has a fancy or, bigger TV. So the old bigger stuff. And it looks like you're almost watching a play. They have this weird 3-dimensional and the space. And it throws me off.
Yeah.
He's used to it.
Yeah.
I was like, what? It just looks so odd.
I know. I agree. So I think I just wanted to buy it yesterday. I mean, Memorial Day sale, the price is fine. We got it at a local TV shop where they're including the frame with it, which is great because that's like an extra like couple $100, which is ridiculous, but whatever. And like so I'm like, let's just do it. Like I don't think we've ever purchased like a TV.
Another cool thing about it, one cord. I have just one
I know
cord.
Yes, that's what yeah.
And it's just like nice and neat.
That's the biggest selling point for me because I'm like, we cannot have multiple cords.
I know.
So I cannot do
the cord
stuff. The cord stuff drives me absolutely insane. I love the idea of the one box.
Yeah.
I'm sold. I'm
for a small space is what, it solves a small space.
He was telling me that there's some people that just come in and like get 4 or 5 of them and just use it as artwork in their house. Like they're like that rich. And I'm like,
that's crazy.
You can just buy art.
That's my opinion.
I know. It's like, why don't you just buy local art?
Just buy it from an artist and put it up.
So the 55-inch was it cheaper than 1K? No, it's about 1,000, 1,100 maybe. So it's very expensive for not being the highest end TV you can get. Like you can get the OLED like nicer TVs for cheaper. That's the biggest qualm everyone has about the frame, that it's like it's actually an average TV, like the specs and everything, but it has a bunch of features that people that care about
the design of
certain like aesthetics and then like one of the Reddit was like, this is the type of TV that like what happens when you let your wife pick out the TV, this is what you end up with. And I was like I was like, that's true, but also a rude comment, and it's fine. So yeah, it's not cheap, but
you want your house to look the way you want your house to feel good when you're sitting in it. We spend all our time here.
Yeah, it's like compromise. You get to have the living room, but also the TV watching.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a reason to get a quieter machine, because then I could take over the living room with my machine and my husband could still watch TV and I could be quietly sewing in the background. Because right now this thing is a motorcycle.
I mean, that's what our current setup is. Like the TV's right behind and I'm sewing. And my machine's not super loud, but it's still annoying. like it's still a sound. Did we try Costco? Yeah, so they only had the 65-inch at Costco, and I want the 55-inch, which is still too big, but yeah, so they only had the 65, and it was more expensive than my like local TV shop. The thing about Costco though is you can return it whenever.
Yeah, easy return.
So there's that perk, and but it was like $13.99 for the 65-inch at my TV shop, and then it was $14.99 at Costco for the 65-inch.
Mm.
But it did come with a 2-year art subscription, which is like technically $100 a year.
I
Another
don't have
ridiculous thing.
a subscription.
Yeah,
You still have a lot
I
of
don't think-
options.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pay for that because I guess I could stop the recording.